20 minutes between now and my next client, so I decided I'm gonna walk and talk. The only thing is, I hope that it doesn't rain while I'm walking, because then it's gonna rain and my car is a little distance from where I am. But I ended the last video abruptly, and that was because my client happened to show up earlier than I thought he was gonna show up. So duty calls, obviously, but now I have a little bit of time. This is my lunch break. I don't take breaks. I should take breaks because I am entitled to a 1 hour break, but I can't really say that I ever sit down and take one consecutive hour of break. So this is kind of like a break. So walking and talking, I can get my step requirement down. Yesterday was the first day in a long time I missed my 10,000 steps. I think I got about 4,000 because I was having pain in my knee. But anyways, this is a continuation of what I was saying earlier about my mom and when she challenged me. I'm not going to repeat the whole story, but the Spark Notes version, for those of you who know Spark Notes, which I learned, there's things that I say sometimes and people that I work with that are much younger than me that make me realize how much I'm falling out of touch, because somebody gave me some really long story at work and I told them, give me the Spark Notes version of that. And everyone, when I was in school, when I would say, give me the Spark Notes version, everybody knew what Spark Notes were. Spark Notes were when you didn't want to read the book. Like for me, I remember reading Shakespeare, what's the other one? Some of those books for English class. And Spark Notes was the books that gave you the little summaries of what was happening in the chapters. So I said to somebody, oh yeah, I said, give me the Spark Notes version of that story. And they were like, Spark Notes? What is Spark Notes? And I was like, oh boy, definitely getting old. But anyways, I don't even know why you'd use Spark Notes. If I had smartphones when I was in school, I would be like the dumbest person with the highest grades, because I would never not use my smartphone to get the answers for everything. Nowadays, I'm glad that I went through school when I did, because I wouldn't have learned anything. I cheated in my ways, but my ways still required me to learn something. But anyways, I'm not going to repeat the whole story of what I said earlier, like an hour ago, but essentially my mom was not going to celebrate like I was a big winner unless I put in a big effort. And I used to feel like it was unfair because I would always tell her, I have friends that I know their parents are so happy when they get B's and sometimes even C's. You know, I remember telling my mom about this payment system, this bribery payment system that one of my classmates had, where his mom was like, if you get an A, you get like $20. If you get a B, you get $10. If you get a C, you get $5. I remember telling her that, and she was like, wait a minute, why would you get paid for a C? A C is not a good grade. She said, even if I was doing that with you, I would not pay you for a C. But the effort is the point, the effort. If I gave an A plus effort, then she was going to celebrate no matter what the grade was. If she could see my process, that I put in the work, that I studied, that I was doing all my homework on time, that, I was making sure that when I came home, my homework was a priority. If I was doing all of those things and she could see all of that, and I went into that test aiming for an A and expecting to get an A, and a B is where I landed, she would celebrate that B as if it was an A. But if I was not doing all those things and I gave a D effort and achieved a B, I would have to rock on that celebration by myself. That's just the way that it was going to go. She wasn't going to say the B sucks, but it felt like her saying that when she said you did okay and you got a B. Because in my scale, a C was okay, a B was good, and an A was excellent. But that wasn't the mom scale. So the other thing is, this can tie into everything in life. Like, for instance, when I told the story about getting the third chair, the saxophone third chair story, I just said I am the best saxophone player. So the audition piece part of it doesn't really matter, because the teacher knows that I'm the best. All the other people in the band know that I'm the best. So the audition is just a formality. So I gave the same C effort, D effort in terms of practicing. I ran through those pieces times. I didn't even feel like I had perfected them. I just felt like I'm so much better than the other saxophonists that they're for sure going to give me the first chair. And I got into that audition and I got humbled by being given the last chair out of who was there. The third chair was the last chair. So I was given the last chair based on my performance. And I had been playing the saxophone, as a matter of fact, the alto sax specifically, much longer than the other people. And like I said, I had been in competitions and won competitions with that saxophone, but I just didn't practice the piece. And I remember being so mad about that for years. I'm like, what's wrong with this teacher? Everybody knows. He was a new band teacher. So the old band teacher had already promised me, oh yeah, the year before, he'd already promised me, oh yeah, you know you got that first chair again. And then he got fired right before the year started. So we got a new band teacher. And because the band teacher was new, it wasn't like, oh, you're automatically going to be given a chair. I don't know y'all. So y'all are going to practice these pieces and play for me. And I'm going to determine your chair based on how well you do the piece. And basically, because I didn't put in the effort, I left it up to the teacher to decide based on how well each person played that piece. So it all connects, as you can see, because I was mad just the same way I was mad at my mom for telling me, oh man, you did okay. I was mad at the band teacher for being like, all right, you kind of did okay with this audition, but the other three people did better than you, so your last chair. Now, something that I have learned as an adult is that it doesn't even matter how naturally talented you are at anything. The kids don't like to hear concepts over again. But for anyone else who understands the whole tie-in with everything that I'm talking about, yeah, they say work hard and remove all doubt, because I can sit here and debate on whether I was better than the other 2 or 3 saxophonists that were auditioning for that spot. I can sit here and debate about it, but the facts are, I got third chair. Now, did I go in there and practice as much as the other 2 to do that audition? No, I did not. So therefore, they got the piece because they worked harder. Now, they could, if I were to sit here and have them on my live right now, they could tell me, I'm just better than you, Mark. But I left the door open for them to even be able to say that, because I didn't put in the effort. So anything that I do nowadays, I don't depend on my talent, because even my mom told me this one time. There was a point in time in my life where I just said to myself, I'm not accepting this position, or I'm not going to do this type of work, or I'm not going to accept this specific type of salary because I'm too talented to have to go through these kind of steps. People should just understand and recognize my talent and give me things because of that. And my mom actually said to me, I didn't say that to her specifically, but my mom actually said to me something to the effect of, don't just sit around and think that people are going to scoop you up because you have talent. She was like, you got to pound the pavement. You got to work hard. You got to keep improving and sharpening your skill set. You got to go into, if you're going into an interview, you got to go into this thing with your best foot forward. You know, make sure that you don't leave any kind of a doubt or any kind of a gray area. Because there's a lot of people who gain and get things that they're not the best at, or maybe they're not even the most qualified for, but they're willing to work the hardest towards getting. This job also is another example. Third chair, you didn't practice hard enough. The moral of the story, practice makes perfect. That is not even the moral of the story. That's funny. Practice doesn't make perfect. It just makes you slightly better. That's not true either. Yeah, so when I went into this job that I'm in right now, or when I went into this job interview, I'm not qualified for the position. I wasn't qualified for the position. And the hiring manager told me that within the first 5 minutes of the interview. And she was like, this is the requirement. Do you have this certification? And I was like, no, I do not. And she was like, I have to ask you though, you applied for this position. So how did you apply for this position without the requirement? And why? And I was like, oh, well, I didn't know that it was the requirement. But what I can say is that I have 11 years of experience thus far in this field. I'm a hard worker, and everything that I don't know, I am humble enough and willing enough to be teachable. And I'm hungry. I was basically like, I'm hungry to be able to learn this position and do my best at it and make a good impression. I don't know what I said, but it was something along those lines. And she liked that answer. And that's essentially why I got into the position. Now imagine if I had gotten in there and she said, why do you think you deserve this position when there's a lot of people in here that are more qualified than you? And I was like, they may be more qualified, but who's better than me? I'm talented, I'm skillful, and I've been within this field for this many years. So it's gonna be your mistake if you don't hire me. I mean, I'm not gonna say that, but you get the idea. If I had gone in there with a different type of attitude, I wouldn't have that position. So therefore, I live by an airport, sorry. So anyways, I guess to close it off, because I only have about, 3 minutes left. Don't leave anything in doubt, because it's not everything that you are going to be able to get or achieve in your life, but at least make sure that you've put in the max effort towards getting or achieving that thing, so that when you hang up your hat on the rack at night, you can say, you know what, I did the absolute best that I could do, and it just didn't work out for me. Because nothing is worse than feeling like you left something on the table. The reason that third chair made me feel so bad wasn't because there was people that were given positions that were higher than mine. I'm not that type of person. Like, I'm very humble. Even though I know I'm not describing a situation where I demonstrated humility, but really I'm very humble. So having people at first and second chair, if I legitimately thought that those people were just better than me at the saxophone, I would say, okay, I just have to work harder. Or maybe no matter how hard I work, they're just better at me. I had that in sports. You know, I was really good at sports, but sometimes I ran into people who were better than me and got a starter spot over me. I remember I was always the best basketball player in my elementary school team. I got into high school and I came off the bench because there was a better point guard than me, and he was just better. It's like it wasn't a matter of work ethic. It wasn't a matter of anything like that. I worked hard. He worked hard. He was just better. So I didn't feel bad about that. But in this saxophone story, that I will repeat as many times as I want, because it is my channel after all, the reason I felt bad was because I knew that the people ahead of me simply outworked me. And even when we got into the band and we were going around, we were touring around, and we were playing our pieces and traveling to different countries and different cities, and we were playing and they were making mistakes, and I was just like, this sucks, man. Because I'm still the best saxophone player here, but it doesn't matter if I'm the best saxophone player here, because I was also the laziest one who was too overconfident to practice those audition pieces. So nowadays, no matter what it is that I'm doing, I leave everything on the table. I leave everything on the table. Even those interviews, I've had about 6 or 7 interviews in the last 4 years, and I've gotten a call for all of them. I've gotten a job offer from all 7 of them. And I don't think that it's a coincidence. That's not to say if I do 7 more, I'm going to get 7 more interviews. But I used to go into the interviews unprepared. Here, look at my resume. You can see what I can do. So I don't have to go through all these practice, going through all the different questions that you might ask and figure out a time when I helped solve a problem, or a time when I was able to mitigate hostility between myself and a difficult colleague or patient, whatever. I'm not going to go through all that. I'm just going to figure that out on the spot because my resume speaks for itself. No, I've actually been. I review my resume. I research the company. I go through potential questions. I've actually had my sister give me like a mock interview for all of those. I don't know if it's all 7. It might not be all 7, but she gave me the 3 mock interviews for the 3 jobs that I just got in the last 4 years. So I went in prepared and qualified for the most part. "67th chair, French horn. My dad told me, turn you down. Why the heck are you so loud?" Or you could turn it off. That solves the problem too. When things are too loud, I turn them off. So yeah, leave everything on the table and make sure that if you're not the one who's selected, it's just because the better person went out that day. They're just better than you. Or they're just better at that thing than you are at that thing. Or maybe they're just better at that time than you are at that time. But there's no room for gray area or debate, because I can sit here and debate, like I said, with the people who got the first chair and say I'm better than you, but they can say I was first chair. And the reason that they're able to say I was first chair is because I worked as if I already had the first chair, and I didn't. Now I realize that you have to earn everything in this life. Nothing is just given to you, unless you're really lucky and fortunate, and you're one of those people that just gets hand-me-downs or inheritance. Family's well off, and they're like, you know what, you got this trust fund, or here, you can overtake my business. Unless you have one of those types of things in life, if you're more like me, which is more people than it's not, you have to work hard for everything that you get, and nothing is given to you. No matter how talented you are, no matter how good you might think you are, you still got to go in and put in the work and leave no doubt. And that's where I'm going to end it. And let's see if any of these are worth reading. Definitely not Cam's. I've been overly qualified for every job I've ever had, but a paycheck is a paycheck. No, I don't want to turn you off. I love your voice. Colleen, we're chopped liver. He doesn't even read our comments. Just kidding. You really think? No. I just read your Oh, you're talking to Colleen. I know, that's what makes it so fun. All right, y'all. It is 2:04 where I'm at. I have half my required steps for the day. So I'll talk to you all later. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Talk to you later.